one of the things with aging, we age, the head and the neck tend to do this. And what that does is it does this, it turns this part back here, right? So like an old person. So we can try to fix the head top a whole bunch, but until this part here is correct, then the top part adjusts. So think of it, imagine the center line. If you like to adjust the top, you have to adjust the top. One teacher would say, imagine that your head, that your neck, that your spine, and the tailbone, right? The sacrum down here. Imagine that that sacrum is like a pendant on the end of a chain. And in your mind, you can become a jeweler. You can design your own type of chain. So imagine the bottom of the chain with the tailbone. You put some type of gem. You want to put a diamond, pearl, some other type of precious stone that holds the chain. And then at the top, you want to pull that part up as much as possible with your tailbone relaxing from your head top. And then keep this part going up. This part. So to find the center, it's like if you have a chain with something on the end of it, you can turn it in a circle. So imagine that your head top stays in place and that you can move your tailbone in a circle in one direction. But as if you're supporting the chain, so keep your spine stretched. This is almost like if we lock the top and the bottom, like turning the hips in a circle. Tailbone. Make some circles going in the other direction. Relax your tailbone so much that you can feel your neck stretch. Connect the tongue to the upper palate and make a mental connection. The tongue is vertical, pressing upwards to the back, and make that connection to the back of the neck. That way, your throat, if you have the correct posture, you can breathe air. Keep the energetic circle to the space in the armpit. Use the center to support and relax the tailbone, the bottom of the coccyx pointing. Activate the abs when we're breathing, and then internally, we're lifting the base of the torso, the center of the very bottom. So relax the base. Expand your ankles and your feet. So have the feeling of power in your feet. Grip your toes, or imagine driving your toes into the ground. By the way, this posture, to be sure that you're doing it correctly, you can use your wall. So when you're doing this, right now, this looks okay, but I want to keep the chin tucked. So you can imagine, we said the chain earlier, as if you're going to take the top of the chain and affix it to the wall, stick it, nail it there to the top, and then let the base hang. If you don't have wall space, sometimes having the wall space premium, you can use a door. In this case, I have insulation in place, but you want your heels to be against the door. You want it flat. Anybody that's in any trade uses a guide, right? If you're an architect, you use, if you're manually drawing, you use a straight edge or T-bar. In CAD, you have another architect look at your work. The same thing, you can assure that your alignment is correct if you're working on perfect posture by using a guide, right? So you can use the ball, check. And then sometimes in this class, I think we've even practice using it against the wall, and then start doing the Tai Chi form. See what that feels like. That. Let's start with some Qigong. Keeping the dynamic of your spine in mind. So the whole time we're doing this, keep the tongue connected to the upper palate so that the throat is open, trachea is open. And then relaxing the tailbone, relaxing the back. So if you're sinking, right, make sure your feet are parallel and then line looking. So if they're not, they are. The mind on the alignment of the chain. So when you reach the top here, the base, the tailbone should be all the way at the bottom. On the inhale, do the lock. So keep working, keep breathing. But as when you're inhaling, when you're lifting up, lift the base of the torso and connect the tongue to the upper palate. So the energy all the way up. And then on the exhale, reach all the way out to the sides, some of the shoulders from inside. So use the chi to move the body. Back. While we're breathing, somebody the other day asked me, they said, how does Tai Chi activate the meridian system? And my answer is, my understanding of it is based on the soft principle, the idea of yin, which is when we do this kind of qigong, when we do Tai Chi is a form of qigong, so it's energy work. And the concept is by filling the meridians with lots of qi and then moving around without burning energy, by moving softly, we can get the energy to move inside the body. By breathing, it can be full. So the Tai Chi idea, the Taoists were naturalists. They believed in nature. So the concept is your body will naturally fill the acupuncture meridians with energy and will move that energy on its own. And previously I studied yoga, and you have to stretch in certain ways to expand to get the energy to travel there. And my feeling about yoga is that it's a good quality system, especially for people that have bodies that have either injury, deformity, long-term either decay or decline. It's a good medicine. But once our bodies are in a certain percentile of quality, there's a Taoist idea that says first you form the vessel, you fill the vessel, then you use the vessel. So this is the body. In this case, for Tai Chi, my students ask, they say, how does it work? I say, it's very simple, it's very natural. If you do the breathing and you keep your body in the correct alignment, the things that we want to happen will happen naturally. Do two more. Going at your own pace. Bring your feet together. Bring your hands together. For those that remember Gene's teaching, by the end, between every exercise, he would just say, feet together, hands together. So let's go back to the alignment we had just talked about a second ago. Now that we've done a whole bunch of Qigong, imagine your spine set like a chain with a pendulum base, and that's your coccyx. So you want to pull the top up to its maximum. Relax the neck, back, and the shoulders all the way down to the tailbone, as if there's a weight that's pulling. By the way, this kind of alignment works for everybody. If you have injuries, there's people that have an injury for the shoulders, for the neck. If you have vertebrae missing, replaced, that type of thing. By breathing with the energy and relaxation, we have the body supporting itself. So we review the head top, the breath is relaxed, the vision is open. Open your nostrils, activate the corners of the mouth. The tongue is pressing upwards. Feel the face, supporting with the front, relaxing, expanding. Breathing with the base of the torso, lifting, connecting that energetically to the tongue, center of the top. And then feel the weight, we said, like a string. Relax the tailbone even more. Your legs are completely offline. Expand the ankles and the feet to feel powerful. Activate the toes. And then activate just the bottom surface of your foot. We want to be able to attain that same alignment as quickly as we can. Part of the healing process is when we have a joint muscle that goes out, we want to get it back to functioning as quickly as we can. The same thing happens in our body when we have stress. We start thinking about things, so there's an external, the body goes out of shape. So back into shape as quickly as possible. And then later, the next goal is when the external thing comes, instead of affecting our own physical structure, we want to control physical structure. Mm-hmm. So when we play push hands, right, the basic routine is to not feel threatened, and there's an opponent pushing us, regardless of their stature. Some people, when they're boxing, when they're playing push hands, prefer to fight an opponent that's smaller. So there's other people that are afraid of larger opponents. Whatever their size is, we have a technique to deal with it. And so at that stage, not only are we not afraid of the external, but even if it becomes very aggressive, we can still maintain the posture. This is Tai Chi. You can use this to your advantage. You can use the concept of structural integrity, whether you're dealing with somebody for boxing or whether you're dealing with somebody on the street or the grocery store. The more broken down somebody's posture is, the easier it is for them to be feet. So I don't know when we're going to be able to meet in person, but meeting in person, doing foot hands, this kind of alignment, you can see if somebody has a weak structure, it's very easy to push them over with one hand. You can just push them out. For somebody that has a good structure, it's difficult to uproot them. It doesn't matter what their stature is. Big person or small person, short or tall, combinations thereof. The correct structure, using a square step, keeping that tailbone, the head top up. When you push, when you do this kind of pushing that you're doing, you have to switch sides. The tailbone. try to feel the weight. Keep working. There's an adjustment I do for people in person. I very rarely do physical adjustments. I'm a very hands-off kind of teacher in that way. But there's one that I do, which is and if I've done it, then you can remember, is I put my hands on the corner of the hips and I just push down, right? I like as if I want to push the person down into the ground. So I want you, while we're doing this exercise, to feel that type of weight. Imagine on the hips, right here, on the sides, that there's weight that's going down with gravity. And then connect that to your feet so that you feel, imagine you want to push something heavy, even bigger, an SUV. And so you want to sink your weight into the ground and move it across the ground. The hands, they just showing something. But inside the energy is traveling like a wave and is starting at the bottom. The end result, we can see if you can change directions going up the top, going underneath. It doesn't matter because at the bottom, there's a wave of energy going between. And the more you can relax and sink the hips, the more you can feel gravity. You can use gravity to assist the foot because it's going down in the back of how it can be going forward. Let's continue to stretch. As a full body stretch, we can use Tai Chi Harmony. So if you line up, feet together, bring the head top up, and use the idea of the pendulum, right? The chain with the thing at the end of it, and allow that to sink. Connect the tongue to the upper palate. And as we said earlier, with the pressure, allow that to open the top. And then turn it on your own. All the way around the center. You can coordinate with the breathing, but keep in mind the straight pendulum. You don't want to lean, you don't turn. Just like you have a chain, and you spin it directly on its axis. We're using this as a full body stretch. Protect your knees. Imagine you have a towel and you'd like to wring it out, and that your body is just one piece, like one towel. So stretch the head top up, keep your chin tucked, relax the tailbone. Keep your hands in the center line. So sometimes when we turn, there's this inclination to push this way. Try to keep this structure from the elbows to the wrists in place. So that your shoulders stay parallel. The same long breathing we started with. Is it the same long breathing we started the Qigong exercise with, or is it the same long breathing we started our life with? Babies have perfect natural breathing. Nobody has to teach them any type of Qigong. Let's continue with the arms and shoulders. I want you to imagine some different type of exercise with your arms made of heavy metal components. We have three: upper arm, the lower arm, the wrist. We have an elastic seam between those metal chunks and the main turbine thing is turning in the center. So I want you to imagine turning your arms into heavy. You can make it heavier than metal if you have another element combined. Feel your arms pulling outwards on the shoulders. I want you to relax, keep working, keep breathing. All of this stuff so much that when this gravity is pulling out on these heavy parts that are relaxed, that the stretch happening all the way to your spine. Keep that top, relax the tail. So with the structure, even relax the shoulder blades. Feel as if the centrifugal force, how it sort of pulls your arm out to the side, even the shoulder blade in the back feels like it's moving outwards, away from the shoulders. Then add up and over. See if your smile is painting to a very serious breath. Back to the center. By the way, some things that earlier I was talking about yoga. One of the things that I recommend for everybody is getting your legs up the wall. So whether you sit on your couch and you put your legs up the wall that way, or whether you lay in bed and you can just put them in the air, or if you turn 180, put them up against the wall, the head, something like this. Even for just a few minutes, this changes the circulation in the legs. In yoga, with basic postures down the face of the does gets us close to that with certain stretching. The other thing too is in this class, because we're not doing yoga, I do this bending at the waist. And so this kind of thing is meant to allow gravity to open the spine and to open the arms and to open all the joints and sort of reverse the blood flow. This is a no technique, right? We just got done saying yoga, main thing is getting the blood traveling up the back. And so for do it in every class, but a lot of classes I like to do, they have inversion tables, right? This is known. People do that as you stretch out your spine and get your circulation. So without doing anything extreme, push your tailbone back and away. Make your feet parallel, relax your head and neck, and your shoulders, and keep working. This is where we can really let gravity do the work. It's very it's counterintuitive from the Western idea of no pain, no gain, and that you have to work harder to get more. In this case, the more you relax, the more the tissue, the cartilage between the spinal discs, the blood vessels, they can open. The blood has a weight and a value that's going with gravity. And so you're inverting it. You're using Tai Chi, relaxation, to do all the work instead of the heavy yoga. And then when you're ready, grip your feet. Why do we grip our feet? To ground ourselves, to root ourselves. Because we're going to up roll. Feel your back, feel your spine, all those little points. That means that can all relax more. Breathing, expanding all the way. Inflating, reach to the top, stretch the whole thing, then relax. We're going to do one more. So this is some of the method, the reason why do we do this one? Imagine your tailbone, the point that's pointing up is going towards the ceiling. You can still activate your toes. Keep working. Remember to breathe. As we said a second ago, when we get into higher level Tai Chi, push hands, and boxing, sometimes it's very stressful dealing with an opponent. And we have to be able to maintain not only our posture, but our breathing when we get into a weird situation. And so when you change, being upside down inverted is a unique situation. You can relax more, you can breathe more, and let the body, let the gravity do its own thing naturally. And then when you're ready on your own, grip your toes, keep yourself rooted, and then inflating. Keep your tongue up there. Stretch. Reach all the way. Breathing all the way. Yeah, we can do some turn. If you keep your shoulders in place and just turning it up. We don't have a there's no term to describe. Keep your head top pushing upwards away from the center of your skull in the Y axis according to each vector as you turn. There's no simple way to describe it. When teachers refer to it as head suspending power, head suspension power. If you come back to the center and we just do Tai Chi Humming, just line up. Imagine like you're a giraffe and you want to extend your neck. What's pushing it up there? Is it muscles pushing? What keeps it up there? Back and shoulders. It's a mystery. How does it go up? Internally, there's energy, right? We have something, but there's no structure to push up. Is the spine. The spine should be relaxed. It's pain. So if we have chi, if the chi is expanded and full, the head top goes up. So feel like you're pushing up now when you do the head turn, so that you can pull all the way down to your shoulders as you turn. And then accentuate the stretch with the breathing. So by breathing all the way up into the upper lobes of the lungs, you can expand that. Don't forget the bottom of the torso lifting at the base. This is another natural byproduct of aging. The same way earlier we did the old person, right? As the neck becomes weak and we're not as good at putting energy up, we get the slump, and the slump causes it to go back. The same thing internally happens at the bottom. It becomes weak as we get older, we get fatter, because this thing is either going out this way. Or have you ever noticed for people that have a very large belly, but they're not big people, their body isn't designed that way, is that it becomes so large that it starts to do the reverse of what we're talking about. Instead of this thing, they get this going on, and it's their spine is being pulled. Anyway, spine, keeping the alignment. Where we stretching that. We did some of this. We did some bending at the waist. Knees. So for the knees, I like to practice. This class I'm explaining some of why we do them. Where they come from. Is if you take your hands, rubbing them together, and then putting them over the hands. I've seen several teachers do different things. Some of them rubbing knees, some of them tapping, some doing combinations for the knees. My acupuncturist used to do this thing when my leg was straight, pull the kneecap. This one, we're doing Qigong. I want you to practice generating heat in your hands, transferring it to another part of your body. And the knees, Master Su, many years ago, referred to the knees as the baby joint of the body. Baby joints of the body. You have to protect the knees the same way we would protect a baby. And so in this warm-up exercise, so that we're actually putting our mind, putting our chi into the knees to warm them up, like Mr. Miyagi from Karate Kid, using good old-fashioned friction. And then when you apply that, you can feel the heat from your hands. And then mentally, as if it's transferring, like allowing that heat to transfer. And so that's sort of a soft. If we did some type of hitting on the knee, smacking, we can put chi in there. That's a yang right there. No, this way, soft. It's just an energetic transfer. And then let's do a couple of these. One exercise that TC taught as an ankle and balance exercise is the triangle, which is with my foot flat here. And then if I reach it to the side, forward. If I'm parallel to the ground, it's out. The thing, put it directly outside as far as I since anything. So this is a Tai Chi exercise. It's complementary to X stepping. We have a geometric shape base. And for people studying the Sun style Tai Chi, there's an exercise where we're just going from the center to the corner. So if we did X stepping, we could do sort of the same thing from the center, step to the corner, and then back this way. Let's do the, if we didn't balance it out to the other side, just a triangle, so push the foot forward. Pin is low, only a centimeter from the ground. Like you have a pencil under your heel, pencil under the toe. That's the space between. And then out to the side. Try to keep it on your side. And then same thing with the last one is like you're wearing flippers. What are the things when you go scuba diving? So the fins, right? These things. Like you have that on your foot, and you're pushing, like, or you have a big clown suit, right? You have one, and you want to push with the end of the fin flipper, with the end of the oversized shoe. You want to push the gas, the top of the gas pedal with power. So like you're reaching, and you're reaching beyond your foot. And then change, try the other side. Before we continue for this one, I'm going to actually make a drawing for the idea for the foot thing. I do have lots of drawings. So the idea for your leg is if you have a leg here and your foot, in one example, we have the chi, the energy is like this. The energy comes down and it goes to the end of the foot, right? The energy is like this. But what we want to do is if we have the leg and the foot is have the energy that goes beyond the outside and goes this way. So when we're using the foot, like to push the gas pedal, the concept is that we're expanding the chi to go past the outside. Imagine you have a root that's in the ground, you have a carrot, and the energy only goes to the surface of the carrot. It's going to be a pretty wimpy carrot when you pull it out. But now imagine that the energy is actually growing and expanding. So what happens is that chi starts to contract, right? So that's like the root of a plant contracting. Well, if your legs are weak, the rest of the system will be weak as well. So the aged leg or the weak leg is like this one. It's fine. It looks fine. The energy is still working. If we had a situation, we may have other situations for people that are diabetic or have other kind of problems. If we have a leg here where the chi doesn't actually even get to the base, right? This from the upper aura, it just goes to here. It's so weak, it doesn't get down here. That's when people have to have removal or something. The chi is not even flowing to the area. So let's go back to practicing this one. And now with the idea that you're like a pumping station. Your ankle is like a wheel. It turns. You can push the energy past your foot. As soon as you stay to 20 minutes. So I'm going to come back here to reset. We'll go through the movements, starting out from scoot, ready stance, lock, hit, recoil, and turn, wrench, wah-wah, sweeping block, towards your ankle, spiraling up the drill, step forward for high tip up, push forward, tip, 2, 3. Abba, flip into my elbow, left hand reach across. The other side, we'll stay up, reset, iron fan 1, left foot, and then from here, smash 1. It's like, then from here, wah-wah, short block, left, wah-wah, long block, right, step forward. You're still ready right until the end. You stand up. And even the transition to stand up. So, question, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yep.
So
Yes, you did. So this is where, if you have an official stick or if you have a BIAN GAN, it's marked accordingly. By the way, any stick that's naturally cut, unless it's been machined, every stick in nature will be thinner at one end than the other, right? So because you have one that's a natural shape, it will be heavier on one end than the other. That's normal. When we start, the heavy end is down, and when we finish, the heavy end is down. So this is where you will have questions now about which end is being used for the attack on the far end. Is it, when we do iron fan, is it the thin end and the thin end, or is it yang, yang? The answer for that is heavy. And so, by the way, this is Master Guo, the guy that taught this. He recommended for sticks, he recommended uh, the, the the most dramatic change in yin yang. So if you have one end, like a baseball bat, is very heavy on one end, very thin on the other. He said this actually the spectrum actually opens. Imagine a caveman club, right, where there's a very heavy end on one side and it tapers down into something you can hold on to. It sounds funny, but once you understand BIAN GAN techniques about how we utilize yin and yang spinning, you can actually make a very big, heavy weapon. If it's balanced by having weight on one end and on the other, by this kind of stuff like iron fan, is you can move a lot of power to move very quickly. We practice with this so that we have an idea of very basic. I'll get my look better. It's more clear. Let's do the same form. This time I'm going to talk about which end. That's the yang end. That's the yin end, right? This one is heavier. This one is the lighter end. So from the salute, we have the heavy end now. We're ready, block, pass, waba. This is hitting with the end, the heavier. And then when we flip, smash, cutting up this way. Now when we sweep, the thin end is up. When we drill, small. When we tip to turn, taking this thing, pull it over. Okay, we're using it like a club, right? This goes into, we'll resume right where we took off. This goes into BIAN GAN theory, which is sometimes we want to use the stick like a club, right? So the heavy end, if we're hitting something with it, right, we want to have that impact. And there's other times when we want to use the stick like a whip. And so instead of really trying to smash something, crush it with the heavy club end, we want to whip it just like that impact, just like a hit, right? Just like that, a snap, as opposed to, well, there's a yin yang. And so each of these, some of these movements, you'll find sometimes when we fold it into the elbow, the thin end is up, and you'll find other times the thick end is up. Let's resume. Starting from the beginning of the second section, and we have the heavy end acting as a club for the ankle smash. We're facing north. So from here, I waba. Thin end. When I reach across, I scoop. Here, the heavy end is out far. And then from here, I turn, grab it, fit it. And I turn this way, pop up. This toe back happens with the small end. Set. Same thing, use the heavy end to hit up. The small end, reset. Heavy. Left, hook. Sweep. The smaller end is up. Facing north. When I turn this thing over on one side and then into the elbow, the small end is up. When I turn this way, smash with the small end. Now, waba, smash with the heavy end. This is the reverse. Using the heavy end was the sweep, catch, and here we use the small end to hit. We would set back to facing. So here, when I waba, change the short walk uses the small end. And then when I walk again, I'm also using the small end to block. When I step forward, I'm already holding the large end. It's there. Now, technically, it's not important which hand you use. It's not important which one is which. But later, it will become important because if you want to transfer this to a different type of weapon, right? If we start here, this is just like having you have a saber here, right? The ready stance is forward. So we have a pass. The next one we can't do because if I walk up here, I'm holding it. So one simple rule for BIAN GAN is to transfer it to a blade, to a weapon, sword, is every time there's a waba, the weapon switches 180 in your hand. So let me use my meow bow. This is we can consider this like a trip to the future because, but using yin and yang becomes much more important in this. You can see the meow bow and BIAN GAN the same side. So this is the same. I have the sword and I start blade 180. And once I turn the blade 180, it's cut up. Is you see I have the hilt here. So this cutting is a blade, right? We can use it as a stick. It's very powerful. We can put somewhere on the center line, or even if it doesn't connect to the center line, it has a lever. Pull here, and then what's the next one? There should be we have after the cut up, we come back, and we have the sweeping block, and then from here we have the drilling. You see, this is a very high quality sword technique. Tip up, tip forward. Right? I'm using a heavy long weapon, and because we're using BIAN GAN techniques, it's balance. We can have balance. So, right for general technique, if you're out walking in nature and you have a stick, it doesn't matter which end is which because you're gonna hit the thing or hit the person or hit the target with how you like. It changes later when it becomes more advanced. Go ahead, yeah, question.
You want to clump something with an idea.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you use a different technique.
I mean, here's the thing with these sticks, they're pretty balanced. If I have a target and I use the iron fed, it's to my side. One with the other end. It's not if you're using power, if you really want to hit something, this end, I mean, we could do some kind of check for the diameter between these two. It's not going to make a difference. The stick technique is going to work, right? So that's what I'm saying. For general usage, if you have to hit something with it, nobody's caring about you. In your mind to understand more about it, because there's other things too. This is an empty hand form. This is a boxing form. Once you get really good at the stick, you can find. So here from the ready stance block, it's it's also martial art. So we use the stick to find where some of that power coming from the torso to move the stick, and then later. So you can be practicing all of this stuff. You can use a sword, you can use a heavier, different kind of club. Experiment. What is the difference? And then we get into another variable, which is what we just talked about, or the hit, either being like a hammer crush or like a whipping, right? And so is Iron Fan a hammer crush or a whipping? You see where it's going? Yeah, obviously. So it becomes self-extracting like a zip file. If you have a compressed file, once you initiate it, it can expand as much as you go into each of the sectors. So this kind of thing for the empty hand technique, for the stick technique, we're just trying to get some type of form in place so that we can understand principles, because later we can apply them to anything. Before we continue, questions, thoughts. You got it. Yeah. So now you have a new practice, is to be able to start and finish correctly so that you know it's the right way. And it will just become ingrained after this is short form, so it's pretty easy to get. This has been pretty much BIAN GAN, so let's just do more BIAN GAN next. Let's go back to the beginning, the very basics, just turning the windshield light. And then think about, let's do this, have the heavy end at the base and the lighter end at the top, and do the hitting at the bottom. Imagine like a hammer that you want to hit. And feel the weight and the way that the stick moves if you're feeling the weight at the bottom, like a hammer. Change it so that the smaller end is at the base and the heavier end is at the top. And do the same exercise, but now feel a different idea. Imagine that it's the nail. So we're just poking, right? Nail comes to a sharp point. So there's a different feeling. it's a factor at the end, that nail to go through. Whereas, let's change it back again to change the feel. The hammer hit and sort of stays to transfer its energy into the thing. There's a slower back end, right? As opposed to change it back and now use the nail. This is a quick, like a nail gun. Hit, hit, hit. We can use both. You can use the hammer like a high impact, right? But there's a yin and yang feeling. So this is when we do the pop, always using the heavy end to hit in the front and the smaller end to poke back, right? So this is the idea: it's up, back, back, back. You can do these back to back, right? And so for the technique, you can use this like a yoga for this particular. If you hit up, and then when you want to hit back, keeping the hands in the center, I'm stepping this foot across as much as I can to sink into the type of dragon stance. I'm keeping one hand in place and the other hand is hitting back. You can make this by exploring into the form, right? And then the same thing with the pop-up. What we just did a second ago, if my camera's right here, my waba is only in the front. Waba, hit, waba, hit. But I can also make my waba over there, right? Instead of short range, I'm working with the camera here, right? Is how do I throw my stick? This is like a super long golf club, right? My opponent's way over there. I can get over very fast. In the form, because we're stuck inside our apartments, right? This we can practice just to there. It's effective. You're going to get the power dynamic. This shape of the Tai Chi, it makes the loop and then goes back. So you can make it as extreme as you like, and you can experiment doing things the other way. Let's use the stick. So we talked about geometric shapes earlier. By the way, the working title for my Tai Chi book is called The Basic Shapes of Tai Chi. It's using basic geometry, square. So we start with a plane, and then you have a long square, spiral, circle. Just using those basic shapes as illustrations. Very simple, very short book so far. At the outline is keep the feet parallel, and then making this triangle center. You put the triangle back a little bit towards the feet, and then placing one hand, placing the other. Are offline, like a type of something that's maybe it's funny, birds or dinosaurs. If you take all the feathers off their arms can be. So imagine the same thing, that you have spine and you have legs. The legs are completely offline. You can allow them to relax, allow them to be heavy. So straighten the back of your neck, relax your tailbone. We can go back to using the feeling of the pendulum or the jewelry, where the top of the chain is being lifted and the base of the chain is being sunk. And the weight of the arms is not, we can focus more on the spine because the arms are being supported by the stick. So put your mind to your neck, your increase your head suspending power, head power. Grip your feet. Push the tongue up, make that connection to the back of your neck, and then also to your windpipe, to the trachea. So that with the chin, even though the chin is tucked and the tongue is up there, we can actually receive more airflow, like a straight pipe. it goes down because it's in the correct position. And then forgetting about your arms, fill your lungs all the way up to the upper lobes, with your tailbone pulling down on the bottom of your lungs. Keep working, keep standing. See if you can have the feeling of when you're breathing so much that at the top it starts to fill up. If you have a water bottle and when you fill it, it actually makes a sound. It goes, that's the air going out of the thing until the top goes, right? Makes this, we want to have the same thing with the lungs. So as we're breathing, if you study yoga, this is called, what I was taught, I had somebody one time say it's incorrect definition. Ujjayi breathing. So the concept being filling up to where you reach the segmentation breath. And then once you reach that, let everything goes. 2 more long breathing. Imagine you're stretching while you're doing it. So let the whole body expand. It's only when you relax that you realize where the tension was. Bring your feet to the center, bring your hands to the center. Push your head top up, relax your tail. Activate your feet going from the ground up, group your toes. Make the mountain the side of your shoe. Feel the ankles are powerful, doing what they should be. Relax the calves, relax the knees, relax the thighs, relax the glutes, everything in the back. Tailbone sinking, the front is supporting. The lungs are expanding the whole torso with the breath. There's space in the hip. There's a space in the elbow. There's a space under the wrist. Up to the head top. Relax the jaw. Connect the tongue to the upper palate. Connect it mentally and energetically to the throat. Open your nostrils. Pronounce your vision just a little bit. Relax the forehead. Feel the energy is going all the way up through the center. Everything else is going down with gravity. Move your mind into the dantian. Same kind of breathing, just in a second though. Take a second internally to smile to yourself. Imagine seeing yourself in another place as if you're outside the window. See yourself from further away. And then from that distance, breathing, take a second to smile to yourself. To yourself. And then internally, coming back to yourself, take a second internally. Thanks. Included, take a second to be grateful for yourself. On the journey to self-improvement, a lot of times people get smile. Take one call, email, right? If you have questions. Thank you.